like Angela said, I'm an occupational therapy student at OSU, and my goal kind of is to introduce mindfulness to you guys, kind of do a couple practices, and then kind of throughout this presentation for you guys to be thinking, like if mindfulness is something that you want to learn more about, if it's something that might help you and how it might help you and how you might incorporate it throughout your day. So we're going to dive and kind of do just a 1-minute practice to just bring us all kind of here together.
Hi, and welcome to Headspace. So no matter what's going on in your life right now, no matter how many thoughts are racing around your mind, no matter how the body's feeling, just take a moment to sit down and take a big deep breath, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. As you breathe in, a sense of taking in fresh air, the lungs expanding. As you breathe out, a sense of letting go of any stress in the body, in the mind, just feeling the muscles soften and relax. And close your eyes if you'd like to. One more, breathing deeply in through the nose and out through the mouth. And just take a moment to pause. Allow the thoughts to come and go. And then just gently opening the eyes again.
And that was from Headspace, which I'll talk more about them later. It's one of my favorite resources for mindfulness. But mindfulness, just the definition, is kind of paying attention in a particular way. So that's paying attention on purpose to the present moment and non-judgmentally, without judgment. So this is kind of one of my favorite ways to depict mindfulness. In this picture, it's just a really simple picture, right, of a man and a dog going on a walk, but yet having completely different experiences. So as humans, we have so much going on, and we're often kind of caught reliving or rehashing the past, or we're caught in our heads kind of worrying about the future and what we have to do next. So our goal with mindfulness is to be a little bit more like that dog, more focusing on kind of the present moment and what's going on for us, what's around us and our experience of that moment. And when we pay more attention to the present in this way, it does kind of decrease our stress and calm our body and ultimately kind of increase our happiness. So just a little bit of history. Mindfulness has been around for thousands of years. It has roots in various religious and non-religious traditions. In the US, there's a Dr. John Kabat-Zinn who founded the Center for Mindfulness at the University of Massachusetts. And in 1979, he kind of took this mindfulness teaching and experience that he got from a Buddhist teacher and integrated it with science and research, and developed a program called Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction. That's like an 8-week group-based program that's teaching people different practices of mindfulness and the applications to help reduce stress and kind of relieve things like depression and anxiety. And then on this slide, there's just a bunch of other kind of big names, some you might have heard of, some you might not have. These would be great names to kind of look into further if you're interested in more mindfulness practices. They have, lots of these people have books on it. They might have other resources like meditations on YouTube and stuff like that as well. So there's kind of 2 types of mindfulness practices. And the most common, what people might be more familiar with, is those formal practices. And those are really kind of mindfulness meditations. So in mindfulness meditations, you are stopping all of your activity. You are assuming a special posture that might be sitting or laying down. And then you're dwelling in kind of moment-to-moment awareness, and you're maintaining that for a set period of time. And then on the other hand, you have these more kind of informal mindfulness. And this is just like mindfulness throughout your day during routine activities. So you're trying to dwell in that moment-to-moment awareness, but you're going about your day and maybe noticing things that come up while you're doing things. such as noticing your breath, actions, thoughts, or feelings as they occur. So just some examples again, the meditations, there's meditations like sitting with something as an anchor for your attention. So that could be maybe doing a sitting meditation where you're just focusing on your breath. It could be a body scan meditation where you're laying down and kind of systematically focusing on different parts of your body. And then there's also mindful movement practices. So some common ones would be kind of a walking meditation. And this is kind of when you're walking kind of aimlessly. You're not walking to get anywhere. You're just walking maybe back and forth just for kind of the walking and to tune into that moment. And then yoga is also considered a mindful movement practice. And then informally, again, that's just kind of paying attention, trying to pay full attention as much as you can throughout your activities. So things like eating, bathing, brushing your teeth, driving, shopping, mowing the lawn, doing laundry, some of these things that we think are really mundane. And we kind of go about and don't even realize that we're doing them sometimes. So as far as eating, that might be kind of sitting down with your meal without any other distractions, without the TV on, and paying attention to the smell of the food, maybe the taste, the textures, the movement of your arm as it brings the food to your mouth, all that stuff. And so with that said, and kind of bringing up the meditation part, there's tons of different types of meditation, and mindfulness meditation really isn't trying to achieve some kind of ideal state of relaxation or trying to achieve this sense of a thoughtless mind. Really, you're letting thoughts come and go as much as you can and not judging them. And you're not striving for this inner peace or relaxation, but often that does come when you do focus on the present moment. It kind of comes naturally. Mindfulness is really just trying to live more in the present moment. And it's a new way of relating to your life. So that means the good and the bad. A new way of kind of relating to pain and stress and illness, but also to joy and all the good things. Mindfulness does increase our awareness, and it kind of creates this space. When you're more mindful, you have more choice with how you react, with how you think, and how you react to things. I will say, so often like I said, we are just kind of like going as humans. We have so much on our plates that we don't stop and take a look and check in with our bodies and our minds. So when people do start kind of engaging in these practices initially, there might be kind of some increased distress, might be a little scary at first, but if you kind of continue to engage responsibly, it can be really beneficial. And I'll explain what I mean by responsibly in a minute. But I'll also say this isn't really a replacement for psychotherapy. So even in that mindfulness-based stress reduction, that specific mindfulness program, it's never a replacement for psychotherapy. And we always encourage anybody who has any mental health needs to be kind of reaching out to their provider or getting connected to one, because like I said, this can kind of increase your distress initially. And with that said, like those who aren't comfortable today, maybe you have other stuff that you have to attend to, or you're maybe not comfortable engaging in these practices just yet. You certainly don't have to. But I do encourage you to just have an open mind and, like I said, consider how this might serve you and if you want to kind of pursue it maybe down the line. So here are some benefits of mindfulness. There's a lot of research, especially with that mindfulness-based stress reduction program that I was talking about, that mindfulness can, when we kind of engage in it consistently, and usually that means kind of doing some of the more formal practices, that we can have decreased stress, anxiety, rumination, which is really just kind of that overthinking or thought spirals, getting caught up in our thoughts, decreased impulsivity and reactivity, and a decreased kind of reaction or sensation of pain. We can also have an improved calmness, improved mood, improved cognition, and including improved concentration and productivity, and increased patience, and then kind of just an overall general improvement in health and well-being, and increased compassion and empathy for others and ourselves, improved communication, and with that comes improvement in our relationships, both with ourselves and people around us, and improved sleep as well. So when I said kind of engaging in these practices responsibly, what I mean is kind of approaching it with a certain attitude. And there are kind of 7 to 9 attitudinal foundations of mindfulness, or attitudinal qualities of mindfulness. And I'll kind of go through those a little bit. These aren't things that I expect anybody to remember or to be aware of all the time. It's very hard. Even I am not, but I just want to throw them out there because they might be something that you can bring into your day and just try to approach things with some of these kind of gentle attitudes and see how they kind of help the way that you relate to stressors and stuff like that throughout your days. And they might come up kind of in the meditations as well. So the first would be non-judging, and this is just noticing any urge to kind of categorize or label thoughts that arise in your mind. And with that, I'll also say kind of noticing any judgments that you have of yourself, your abilities, and kind of your mind wandering during the practices, because that is very common and it's very easy to judge yourself and get frustrated that your mind keeps wandering, but that's kind of what it was meant to do. Another would be patience, so just understanding that things kind of unfold in their own time and to not strive and push for them because that creates more tension. Beginner's mind is just cultivating a willingness to see everything kind of with fresh eyes, as it being kind of the first time and not kind of prejudging things. Trust is honoring your intuition and your own authority. Non-striving would be just being yourself in this moment exactly as it is. And a very closely related one would be acknowledging things exactly how they are in this moment, acknowledging kind of your experience and for what it is rather than what you think it should be. And letting go is releasing any attachments or resistance that you have to things. So not trying to hang on to things that are good or bad. Gratitude is cultivating a sense of wonder and appreciation for life. And then generosity is kind of enhancing interconnections, that's with other people, by giving time, attention, and energy to others and also to yourself. Our breath is kind of one of those things that is always happening for us, but we're often paying very little attention to. And so I just want to say it can serve as kind of a bridge to bring our mind and our body back together and to kind of bring us back to the present moment. So our first practice is going to be maybe about 10 minutes. I'm going to lead us in a little bit of a present moment breath awareness meditation. And in this meditation, we're using our breath as what's called an anchor. So it's really hard to pay attention and stay in the present moment for long periods because, like I said, our minds are created to wander and think. So we often use something called an anchor, and that is just something to anchor our attention. So in this, we're paying attention to our breathing. And anytime that we notice our attention has gone away from our breathing, we can always come back to that anchor to the present moment, our breath. So
for anyone else who's thinking 10 minutes is a long time like me, we're going to take a non-judgmental attitude with an open mind and see how it goes, because I know you all are thinking that, because I am too.
Thank you, Angela. That was good. It does feel like a very long time. And I think people that have, like me, that have maybe been practicing for a bit, forget how hard it is even just to sit for 5 minutes. But I will be talking So hopefully that helps the 10 minutes go by, but I will leave you guys with a little bit of space. So if you ever think that something happened with the meeting, it's just that there's a long pause. And we'll come back on in a moment. So with that said, like I said, there's just kind of two things that we're going to be doing. We're paying attention to our breath and maybe the sensations that we're noticing with that, or we're noticing when our mind has wandered and we're kind of redirecting ourselves back to our breath again. The kind attitude that you bring to this practice of mindfulness of breathing is really essential. So like I said, our minds will wander. It's what they're created to do. And sometimes they say that the brain produces thoughts like the mouth produces saliva. And our goal is to kind of train our attention and maybe train it a bit like we might be training a puppy or a cute little toddler. They wander all over the place, but that's their nature. Same with our mind. So we're kind of bringing a steady, persistent, kind attention to this practice. And each time we're noticing that our mind has wandered away, this is actually kind of a moment of mindfulness. That's the goal. Like I said, it's really easy to judge yourself when your mind keeps wandering away, but the moment you notice that, you're practicing exactly right. And it's that moment of just doing it just right and being mindful. And then you just kindly return your attention to the breath gently and without judging yourself. So I'm going to ask that everybody kind of takes a moment to find a comfortable position. Maybe that's seated, trying to sit upright if you can, not slouching, just that will promote a little bit more attention. And then maybe having both of your feet flat on the floor and kind of grounding yourself. And if it feels right, closing your eyes or just softening your gaze, maybe lowering it so that you're looking more towards the floor. And checking in for just a moment with the sensation of the body, what emotions are present in this moment, noticing as best you can what your mind is doing, and letting all that be just as it is, letting yourself be just as you are. And as best you can, taking your awareness into the body to notice the sensations of the breath. If it's helpful, you can take 2 or 3 breaths that are just a little bit deeper than you would normally take, just to kind of help you sense that place in the body where you feel your breath the most, or maybe the place where you feel the breath is most pleasant. It might be the chest or the belly. Maybe you notice the breath at the nostrils or the back of your throat as it flows in and out. And now letting go of your control of the breath, not manipulating the breath in any way, trusting the wisdom of your body to breathe just right for you, observing rather than controlling the breath. Perhaps you notice how the breath expands the chest on the inhale and falls away on the exhale. And noticing how it expands your belly on the inhale and that falls away on the exhale. Sensing how the chest or belly lifts and falls away with each breath. And try to track as best you can the entire cycle of the breath. So noticing the full inhale and the full exhale. Simply tracking the sensations of each inhale and each exhale. Allow yourself to get as close as you can to the sensations of your breath. Using this awareness of your breath as an anchor to the present moment, noticing this breath right here. And noticing this breath here. Noticing each breath as it develops, allowing any sensation in the body that isn't needed to be released with each exhale, yet allowing any tension that remains to be just as it is. Where is your attention now? Where does it go during the quiet moments? Each time you notice your mind has wandered off, is you doing the practice just right? That's a moment of mindfulness. Gently bring your awareness back to the breath, sensing how the chest or the belly lifts or expands on the inhale and falls away on the exhale. This lifting and falling away of the breath is completely familiar, a reliable anchor to the present moment. Right here, right now, this breath. Allowing yourself the space to be just as you are. Breathing in and breathing out right here in this moment. Now, when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes and tune back into this moment with our group here. So again, I will kind of open it up to reflection. If anybody wants to talk about anything that came up for them, maybe certain sensations, feelings, if any of those attitudes came up for them, any judgments they were having, or what they thought of practice in general. And I will give kind of an example of when this might be useful. So just consider you are in the middle of a phone conversation and it's kind of a challenging topic, and you're noticing suddenly that you are getting upset. This is kind of your stop moment. And then the next is to take a deliberate breath, or maybe 2 or 3. And this will kind of give you a little bit of space and distance from that direct feeling of upset. And then next, you pay attention, you observe to what's going on inside of you. How is this affecting your mind and your body? Maybe you're noticing that your shoulders are tight and your jaw's clenched. You might feel a little hot and feel like yelling or saying something mean. But with this information and kind of that space you created, and taking that breath, you can now decide how you want to proceed. And kind of, this is just kind of creating a small gap where you can make a decision on how you respond or react, rather than doing so impulsively and mindlessly. So another one kind of to the same effect, another just acronym would be RAIN. And that is when you are kind of recognizing what's going on. You're allowing the experience to be there just as it is. So you're maybe allowing yourself to know that this is kind of a hard experience, but you're also investigating it with kindness. Again, kind of maybe checking in, seeing how it's showing up in your body or in your mind. And then you're practicing this non-identification, and that's kind of that creating space with it, this non-identification with this experience. And this might look like saying, or recognizing and saying, there's a lot of anxiety here, but not identifying with that and not saying like, I'm really anxious. Just recognizing there's a lot of anxiety here. Those are 2 kind of like acronyms. Those can be kind of hard to use in the moment if you don't know them or are kind of actively trying to like set a goal for yourself to use them in a moment. So here's some other ones that are a little bit simpler and really kind of kid friendly as well. This is a really great kind of anxiety or stress grounding technique. So when you're kind of noticing that your body or your mind is kind of going off on those thought spirals, or you're noticing a lot of tension in your body, you can recognize 5 things that you see in your environment around you, maybe 4 things that you can touch, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. So it's just kind of systematically tuning into each of your different senses. And again, this is kind of like an anchor, just giving you something else to anchor your attention to and not letting your mind spiral on negative thoughts. And then another one would be just tracing your hand with your other hand as you are taking breaths. So just like inhale, exhale, and so on, like throughout each of your 5 fingers. And try to do that slowly and calming your breath, because then that calms your nervous system. And then you can do that maybe just one time was just enough for you to kind of create that space and kind of take back control of your mind or anxiety in that moment. But you can repeat that as many times as you would need. And then the last one kind of leads to another practice. Let's see. I'll kind of read about it. I'm not sure if we'll have time to go through it, because I do want you guys to have some more time to just to check in with each other and chat. But this other practice, and I can direct you, maybe I'll share a link with Angela if I didn't already on the resources. It's kind of self-compassion. So self-compassion is composed of these 3 different elements. And that's what you see kind of in this picture here. The first is mindfulness, common humanity, and self-kindness. So mindfulness is active in the moment when we acknowledge that kind of pain is present in our experience. And it's our ability to hold a painful moment in balanced awareness rather than over-identifying with it. And then step 2 would be common humanity. So that's just kind of acknowledging our collective experiences as humans and acknowledging our shortcomings and struggles, seeing ourselves as kind of this larger human experience rather than feeling isolated due to perceived deficits. We understand that these deficits are kind of just part of being human and things that everybody experiences. For example, we might say, this is what heartbreak is like for all of us, or this is what it feels like to worry about a sick child for everyone. And then self-kindness is just being kind to yourself in the present, in the presence of hardship or failure, instead of being self-critical. So one of these, like a good way to kind of practice this would be using that supportive touch, which I think somebody had mentioned, having their hand on their chest. It can be just that touch, a simple touch, like your hand on your chest is such a powerful way to kind of support yourself during times of suffering. And this comfort of touch is really important for nurturing, and it's seen in all animals. So it's kind of just like thinking how a baby responds to being cuddled in their mom's arms, or how we appreciate the hug of a friend. The supportive hand on our chest in a moment of kind of hardship or struggle, sadness, anxiety, whatever, can be really powerful. So that's also just something to kind of try to use throughout your day. Maybe placing your hand on your heart, maybe 2 hands, or just your hand in your other hand in your lap, and just feeling that warmth and taking a couple breaths, taking a couple moments to yourself. So with that, I'll give kind of one last kind of slide I have to say, and then I'll let you guys chat. Mindfulness is kind of something that we all have the capacity for, but that doesn't mean it's easy. It does take a lot of practice. Like I said, our minds are kind of like puppies, and they just wander all the time, and they're made to think, which is really great. But when we get caught up in kind of thinking about the past or the present, it just creates a lot of tension and stress for us. So similar to kind of training our muscles to get stronger, we can train our attention and our awareness through these formal practices of mindfulness. And good news is research shows that just like 10 minutes a day can be enough to get some of these benefits, like the decreased stress and anxiety and depression. So you can find 10 minutes that might find a way that 10 minutes can fit into your day, whether that's kind of 10 minutes in the morning when you wake up. Maybe you're taking 10 minutes to sit down after dinner with the family even. Maybe you're just doing 10 minutes at bed, kind of focusing on your breath or doing a body scan when you're laying in bed. And then that's perfect because if you fall asleep, there you go. Maybe you're doing like a 10-minute walking meditation, just walking around your neighborhood, taking a walk on your lunch break, just walking around your house for 10 minutes and just taking that 10 minutes to be with yourself, with your body, with your breath, and not focus on any of the worries or things that you have to do in the future. But yeah, I do have websites, apps, stuff like that, recommendations for you guys. I gave a handout to Angela as well, so she'll share that. And there's lots of free resources on YouTube. I will say, like I said, Headspace is one of my favorite resources. They have some specials on Netflix. If people have Netflix, they have some cute animations. They're really kid friendly, but I love them too. So really great stuff too if you want to like practice with your family. They have some interactive Netflix ones too, which is kind of maybe a simpler way to get kids engaged in sitting for periods because it's a little bit interactive and there's cute animations and stuff. And then they have lots of free stuff on their YouTube. They have a phone app that kind of introduces you to mindfulness by doing just 10 minutes a day and seems really kind of easy and accessible for most people. And they do offer like student discounts. So it's $10 a year to have access to the app if you're a student.